Hello and welcome. I'm Randy Bueller here with Bob Maher. We're about
Hey there.
15 minutes away from Week 4 Vintage Super League action. Welcome to the stream, Bob.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, certainly you were yet another guy who did not take long to say yes when the invitation into the Vintage Super League started floating around.
Work and travel makes it tough, but it's something that sounds like a lot of fun. Even when I'm 0-3, it still sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. 0-3 probably not quite the start you were hoping for, but you play a fair amount of Vintage, right?
Well, I don't play a whole lot of Magic anymore, but when I do, I certainly like playing Vintage.
Sure. And I know you've been hitting up Pro Tours as well.
I'm trying to make as many as I can, but like I said, work and family get in the way a lot. Having 4 kids and my own business just doesn't leave a whole lot of time for Magic anymore. But it's
Yeah, I was
still
just about to ask you, actually. Why don't you tell the folks who may not know sort of what you've been up to since you drifted a little bit away from the Pro Tour? Tell us who you are, what you do these days.
So when my wife and I started having a family, I decided I needed to buckle down and try and figure out what my career path was going to be. Be an adult, as the case may be, and uh, through some just happened chances, I ended up buying a gaming distributorship. So I now own and am president of ACD Distribution. We sell games and gaming supplies to retailers all over the country. We distribute Magic the Gathering and board games, sleeves, supplies, all of that stuff. So um, we have almost 100 employees at this point. So it's turning into a real job.
Yeah,
not to say,
100 employees, I should say so.
not to say that it wasn't before, but it certainly takes up a lot of time, and it's one of those things that there's a lot of pressure on you when all those people are depending on you for their income and their livelihood. That it's not something I take lightly. So it
Sure.
ends up playing a lot less Magic. As much as I would love to just go on hiatus and take a shot at the PT again, and start going out 2 weeks early to all the locations and test for the PT. Um, it's still something I'm truly passionate about and I love doing, but I have a hard time being away from my wife and 4 kids for that long, and I can never fully concentrate on it. The business is always needs the attention.
So Magic becomes sort of a hobby, something to do for fun.
Yeah, it's a hobby anytime I can get to it. Even on my lunch hour, you'll see me sitting in the 2-man vintage queues on Magic Online.
Nice.
Yeah, I still probably love it more than I can explain, but certain things have to take priority.
You're going to be in Hawaii?
I'm not going to be in Hawaii. Hawaii is scheduled right before the game industry's biggest trade show in Essen. So
Aha.
I would, if I went to Hawaii, I'd only be home for like 36 hours. Then I'd have to get on a plane to head to Essen. And like I said, with everything else, it just doesn't work that way. I am trying to make it to Eternal Weekend though.
Nice. That's what, a couple weeks later?
Well, it's the week after, so I would get to be
Right.
home for 3 or 4 days, handle things at work. I could leave on a Thursday. It would just eat up the weekend, which is a lot more forgiving to my schedule.
Mhm.
I was talking to Nick Koss, who's putting it together, to see if there's anything I could help out with during Legacy and then play in Vintage.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'll certainly be there doing commentary. That's yeah, Nick does a good job with that. I think it's October 25, 26 this year. So Vintage Championships and Legacy Championships. I think a lot of the league is probably going to be there this year.
yeah, Nick's one of those people that through work I've gotten to know with
Okay.
his very successful game store and being at trade shows. And no, I consider him a friend at this point, and he's a heck of a guy. So I'd really enjoy trying to get out to one of his events because I don't think that I've ever been to one of his events.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was at Eternal Weekend last year, and he certainly did a great job with it. You mentioned the 4 kids. How old are your kids at this point?
So I have 9-year-old twin girls, a 7-year-old girl, and a 5-year-old boy. So the 5-year-old boy just turned 5. So in Wisconsin, that's past the threshold for kindergarten. So he's still in preschool. So I have 2
Okay.
4th graders, a 2nd grader, and a preschooler.
That does sound like quite a handful.
It's a lot of fun, but it is a handful. My kids have a lot of spirit. I will certainly say that. So they make sure it doesn't get dull.
Okay. And those of you hanging out in the chat, by the way, if you have questions for Bob, we have 5-10 minutes. We should be ready to start with matches right on the top of the hour, but happy to get the chance to talk with Bob a little bit. I mean, I want to ask you about your deck, but I can't ask you about your deck yet. I can ask you about the Oath deck. Maybe you can pass judgment on Oath. I don't know if you want to admit whether you're playing that or not. Tom's probably watching. I think he played Tom Martell in round 3 today.
Oh, I don't mind if Tom's watching. He and I are 0-3. I think we're both just happy somebody's going to end up with a win.
Sure.
So, no, I'm not playing Oath again. And a funny story, because I was looking through the undefeated decks in some Magic Online events, and I saw the Oath list I was playing card for card.
Your list?
Yeah, but I found it particularly funny because the Cunning Wish in that deck is completely a mistake. Being out of the game for so long, I didn't realize Cunning Wish works differently now than it used to. So Cunning Wish used to get cards that were exiled,
Right.
used to get cards that were removed from the game. But since they changed that term from removed from the game to exiled, it no longer qualifies as outside the game. Exiled is a part of the game state.
Right.
So I had it in there for the rare occurrences where I could go get my reshuffling effects if I had flashed it back already, and then I could Cunning Wish for other cards. In all the playtesting games I did, I never actually needed to go get the card that I had removed from the game. And then right after I registered the deck, I lost round 1. I was playing in the 2-man queues for fun, and I tried to do it, and it just wasn't available to me. So of course I Googled it, I saw all the current rulings, and yeah, it just wasn't available. So I just found it really funny. I even put a post in our closed chats like, hey, anybody who sees that Cunning Wish in my deck, no, I'm really just not very smart. It's a mistake, and it shouldn't be in there. But then to see someone on Magic Online go XO with the deck with the Cunning Wish and every sideboard card in there, it actually made me feel good. I was like, well, at least other people are winning with the deck, because I'm certainly not.
Do you have a take on Oath's sort of role in the metagame at this point? Is it just a bad direction, or you just got kind of unlucky? Really a signature card for you, right? For those of you who don't realize, this is Bob, when he won his Pro Tour, was playing an Oath of Druids deck. So you and Oath of Druids go way back.
Me and Oath of Druids do go way back, and I have been trying to figure out decks I can play that have cards in them that I'm known for. So maybe that's a hint as to what I'm playing in later rounds.
I picked up on it, sure.
But, and especially at 0-3, I'm just hoping to have some fun.
Sure.
But, and I really don't want to end up in last place. I actually think Oath is a really important part of the metagame. I think my deck was poorly built. I think the true vintage experts out there could look at my deck and almost off the top of their head explain to me some of the really bad choices that I made. And I just came to realize it a little too late, and that's that. I don't know what to say about it. It's still fine. It's playable.
Yeah, sure.
I probably should have had another show and tell. I should have had more missteps. The mana drains in the deck weren't that great. I tried to be a little bit too tricky, but I don't know. I still think it's a very good deck. I think I should have probably gone 50-50 with the Merfolk decks. I think I'm a slight dog against Merfolk. So
but only a slight dog. That sounds right.
I'm not disappointed that I lost them both, but I would have hoped to go 1-1 there. And I think I'm a slight underdog against LSV's deck. I like it in a multi-round tournament. I think it has a very good matchup against Dredge. I think it does okay against Shops. It's just a combo deck with a lot of counter spells.
So folks in chat are wondering if you'll be teaching Magic to your kids.
As soon as they ask, absolutely. But
okay, they have to ask. That's the line.
Yeah, I'm not going to push it on them. They come to work and they see all of the games at work. I mean, at work I have a 60,000 square foot warehouse full of games. So
sure.
If they're looking for something, it's there. And if they show interest in it, I will certainly help them out. But games, as huge of a part of my life as they are and something I would never replace, they were devastating to my education. I mean, my undergrad took 7.5 years. And a lot of that had to do with the amount of Magic I was playing. So,
yeah, in some ways, I feel like I was lucky I didn't find it till grad school. But
yeah, I mean, I was playing in high school,
Right.
and it certainly affected high school. It certainly affected where I chose to go to college. And if that's a path that they want to explore, at least I know where some of the pitfalls are, and I'm more than happy to help them with the game, but I'm not going to push that direction.
Are they playing other games at this point? I mean, are they gamer kids?
Only a little bit. There's
Yeah,
there's a few online games that they play around with, some really young targeted MMOs or, games that are linked to codes on their stuffed animals, things like that.
sure.
They're just starting to explore that space.
Makes sense. So the other thing that folks in chat are asking about is how can they get signed to Dark Confidants without just being annoying fanboys?
I don't find it annoying at all. Like I love the fact that I was involved in Dark Confidant, and if you see me at any show, it really, even when I'm in the middle of a conversation, this is one of the spots I differ from some of the other invitational winners. You can come up and tap me, and if you just hold up a Dark Confidant, no, I'll take it and sign it, and I love it. I love having that part of the interaction with the community. So, like, I'm at Gen Con every year because it's a work show for me. I sign a ton of Dark Confidants there. Also, if you're at your local retail store, if they do business with ACD, I would say once a week or once every other week, one of the stores will send a Confidant into their sales rep, and they will bring it to me, and I'll sign it and send it back. Now, Confidant's an expensive card to be doing that with. I don't expect everyone to do that, but it's certainly an option.
Makes sense. Yeah,
And
it doesn't, and sounds like Eternal Weekend as well. If folks are going to be at Eternal Weekend, that's certainly sounds like a place they can get you to sign that.
right, and I'm not 100% on Eternal Weekend, but I'm probably about 90. And if somebody wants me, I saw in chat, if somebody wants me to sign a new Dark Confidant, I'm totally willing to do that, but I'm going to draw a stick figure in that throne every single time. So if
Okay.
you don't want my stick figure sitting in the throne, then I wouldn't ask.
That seems like a good policy. I like that.
Well, I have to make my presence felt somewhere on the card. So
Now, how much truth is there to the rumor that the original Dark Confidant art, it's actually Neil Reeves in the other character, the one
that's what
being
we like to
advised?
tell Neil. And he was around during E3 that year when we were all playing. So he was helping me with all my decks. He was working with me during the invitational. So the whole time he was right there. So that is the joke between Neil and I, that's Neil off to the side there.
I like it.
And speaking of Neil, he actually went out of his way and found someone who had a blown up version of the card that Wizards, they had it on display when they unveiled Dark Confidant, and they said they would ship it to me, and we just got our lines crossed somewhere. And yeah, 10 years later, roughly, Neil finds it with someone in Texas, trades with him, ships it to me. All of a sudden, I just come into my
Wow.
office, and there's this big package, and it's a 4 foot high, like professionally done Dark Confidant.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
so in my office, I have the 2010 Vintage Champs Mock Sapphire. I have the original art to Dark Confidant, and I have the 4 foot high Dark Confidant.
Very nice. Yeah, signing cards never gets old for me either. I know people are talking about getting Necro signed. That's probably the card I've signed the most. Certainly signed my fair share of counter spells over the years too. But it never gets old. It's always people fear that they're being annoying, and in fact, it's just I don't know. It makes us feel good too.
No, I love it. Maybe it pads my ego. Maybe it does something wonderful for me, but
Yeah, same.
it has never been annoying. I used to sign a lot of oaths and a lot of brainstorms and then a lot of tinkers, but Dark Confidant just dwarfs all of them for me.
Now, are you like Pakula, where you've gone tracked down the original art?
So my father reached out to the artist for Dark Confidant originally and wanted to buy the art. And the artist said, well, I just don't want to sell it right now because I think it's going to appreciate in value. And you don't understand. It's this thing called the Invitational. And my dad's response was, no, I do understand. That's my son on the card. And he just said, well, I would prefer not to sell it right now. But then apparently he did an appearance with Star City Games at at one of his events. I don't know if it was a Grand Prix or not. And at the event, Pete from Star City Games bought the original art from the artist, and at an industry trade show, the Game Manufacturers Association show, Pete just walked up to me and said, "Hey, I ended up with the art to Dark Confidant. Do you want it?" And, oh, absolutely. So
Wow.
I had a much easier path to getting the art to my card than Chris had.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for Pete.
Oh, and you know what? He was perfectly fair about it. I mean, I think he gave it to me for what he paid for it, or something that had to be very close, because I would have paid significantly more. And he wasn't interested in that. He just thought it appropriate that if I wanted it, I was able to buy the card.
All
So
right.
no,
Well,
Pete was a fantastic guy there.
it sounds like our matches are just about ready to begin. First match. Yeah, first match is going to be Luis Scott Vargas versus David Williams. You get any predictions on what these guys are going to be running this week? Do you have a read on the deck swap metagame?
Oh boy, usually I talk to Williams, but we play this round, so I haven't had a chance. So
Yep.
no, I have no idea.
All right.